In this series, we're going to talk about documentary photography. So, what is documentary photography? Most of the time, when we talk about documentaries, we're talking about film. Um, so, when we talk about documentary photography, it's very similar. The idea is that we are chronicling or documenting or putting on record significant historical events all the way to daily life events. The whole idea of documentary photography is to let someone else see through the eyes of the photographer. I've lived my life. I know who I am. I know what it's like to be me. But I haven't lived your life. I don't know what it's like to be you. Could you teach me about that through a series of photographs of your daily life or special events in your life? Absolutely. And in fact, that's why it exists. The goal is to help kind of shrink the world by allowing other people to experience through our own eyes, through the lens of the camera. As you guys have seen in, let's see, okay, there we go. As you guys have seen in the PowerPoints, one of the most famous documentary photographers shot during the Great Depression. Her name was Dorothea Lange. And this image of a 27-year-old mother during the Great Depression, whose face was just furrowed with worry, really allowed people to get to feel and understand what it was like to be able to live during that time. And she took a lot of photographs. Let's see, let's go back here. There's another really good one. Oh, look at this one. What a great photograph. Calliope, please stop. Another beautiful, look at that one. One really great thing about this, just as a photograph, is how the phone is lighting, illuminating her face. And you could say that on the phone we have access to information, we have access to knowledge, and that is illuminating. In this photograph, she is being illuminated by the information on her phone. So, really beautiful photograph, but also has an interesting story behind it. Okay, I'm going to show you some of my work, and then I'm going to come back to a friend of mine who is a photographer and show you some of his work. And not that one. Whoops. Let me move this to here. Okay, here we go. So some of the things that you can document are architecture, old buildings. This is an old building with a tree growing out of it. Doesn't have to be, documentary photography doesn't have to be people. It can be the idea of people or animals or anyone that's ever lived. In this case, someone lived here. Where are they? You know, this was once a time a beautiful home that someone built and lived here. And what's happened to those people? Where did they go? Are they moved on? Where's their family? You know, what happened to the house? So it allows us, it gives us insight into a different time and into a different way of life. Let me get this in the screen. There we go. This actually is a photo that I took in many years ago when I used to travel a lot, and I went to Venice, Italy. And there was a woman sitting in the morning sun, and the architecture on the building that you can't see because it's over here created this beautiful halo around her. And I have this really great shot of her sitting there in the morning light. This is one of my cats who likes to judge our food. And probably because I'm vegan and cats are not vegan, so she often looks at our food with disgust, and it's pretty hilarious. And so this is a great documentary of my privileged, entitled, spoiled cat making faces at my food. This is a building in a storm. Whoops. This is a build. Okay, now we're getting ahead of myself. Music, my photos out of order here. This is just a documentary of a bug, of a beetle, and he's inside of a rose, and there were a bunch of beetles. And so we're just sort of documenting the eating habits of this particular beetle. This is a great photo I took in Asheville inside of a artist studio. So I was outside on the sidewalk and the window was open, and I was able to use the window as a frame and capture the artist in here working. And there were a bunch of tools in the window, and it sort of told a story just in a single photograph that documented the process of this artist. This is a ghost town. Actually, it's not. Well, okay. So ghost town generally means no one's living there anymore. But I have lived out west and went to places that were ghost towns, and every single one of them had a functioning post office. So there were still always people living there in the ghost towns, but ghost town basically means it's been abandoned. And this is one in Ohio, and you may not be able to see right here. There's a man sitting here, but this theater once was, it's called the Gem. It was once this bustling theater, and now it's locked down. And I turned it black and white, and it just sort of documents the decay of a once thriving, beautiful town. And the man was just sitting here, kind of looked, see if I can zoom in there. Whoops, nope, it's not letting me do that. Let's try this again. There we go. And he was just kind of sitting there like he had nothing else to do because, you know, everybody had just left him behind and in this ruined town. Actually, it's, just zooming in on that, it's a nice shot too. This photo, I was just driving down the street, and it was morning, and this was left there overnight. There was no one on site, but they were completely clear cutting this lot, probably to build houses or stores or something. And there's a trunk of this massive old hardwood tree that had been removed. And so this photograph documents the process in which humans will often clear cut large areas of land to bring in stores or houses or other human things and just completely take away the homes of those who used to live there. So that's documentary. Just a happy little deer who I happened to get a good shot of from my car. I was in my car driving, and she was standing on the side of the road, and I just took a picture of her, and she let me. They usually don't let you do that, but for some reason she did. And so just to, you know, being able to document wildlife in a particular area falls into the documentary category. This series, I wanted to show you guys the whole series, but this is the first time I ever really intentionally shot people intending to be documentary. Normally people were just sort of part of the scene that I was shooting, but in this case there was the Cherokee Indians, and my husband is part Cherokee. They were doing a show at a local national monument, and we went there, and I specifically wanted to take pictures of and document the dances of the people that were doing them. And this is a lot of processing in Photoshop, but it achieved what I wanted it to achieve, which was it created or captured the process of native, in this case Cherokee, war dances. There is no human in this photo of this abandoned building, and this toy car was left in the parking lot. And so it's a chronicle. It's of people who were once here but are no longer, of what it's like now, what happens after we're gone. You know, you could see the plants beginning to take over and cracking the sidewalk, and who was the little boy that this truck once belonged to, and where is he now? Okay, so this is a record store in Asheville that you can see everything's black and white except for the record labels. And this is this blurred motion photo of my husband going through the records. And the whole story behind this was to document the fact that music is timeless. Music, it will always exist. It doesn't die. It doesn't expire. Whereas humans come and go. So one day it's my husband, the next day it's someone else. The person is there, but they're blurred. They're in motion. While the records are photographed and have a little bit of color because they're the focal point. They're the story. The music is timeless. Okay, so this was an accidental opportunity I got when I was taking some photos. There was a group of people protesting the Pride Parade in downtown Atlanta and another group of people protesting their protest. And at the time, a little boy on a bike drove into my view and I took this photograph. And the whole idea and the whole purpose is he is going to be influenced, as we all are, by things that happen around us. Who will influence him the most? These people or these people? Or none of them? Or some blend of them? How will he be influenced by the world around him? And that creates a really interesting documentary story. And that takes us back to the other one. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here and continue on the next video.